I was reading something the other day about cognitive load while driving,
Oh, yeah?
and it said that under just, totally normal conditions, a driver makes something like 150 decisions for every single mile they travel.
That sounds about right. I
Yeah.
mean, you're constantly calculating speed, your lane position, checking mirrors, scanning for hazards. It's this uh, constant background hum of processing.
Exactly. But then you have these outlier days, days where that background hum just becomes a deafening roar.
Mm.
We're not talking about a casual drive to the store. We are talking about high frequency, high stakes crisis management. And that is exactly what we're diving into today.
We certainly are. We've got this fascinating document in front of us. It's a driving log from January 15th,
All
2026.
right.
And it's titled The Precision Maneuver, Survival on Trivandrum's High-Stakes Highways. And honestly, calling it a log doesn't really do it justice.
Not at all.
It reads more like a combat report from a fighter pilot who just, I don't know, landed on an aircraft carrier in a storm.
It really does. It covers this 5-hour window on the roads of Kerala in India, specifically the route from a place called Kazakutam right into the heart of Trivandrum.
Right.
Now, I've driven in chaotic traffic before. I think we all have. But the sheer density of these near-miss events in this one document is just, well, it's statistically baffling.
It is. It feels like the universe was just throwing everything it had at this one driver. And what's so unique about it is the author's perspective.
Yeah.
They don't just complain about bad drivers.
No.
They analyze the geometry of the chaos. They're talking about vectors, angles, mathematical functions, and what they actually call the mathematics of danger.
And that's our mission today. We want to decode this log not just as a travel story, but as a case study in human reflexes, spatial awareness, and that thin, frankly terrifying line between a safe arrival and a total catastrophe.
It's a study in how physics and human psychology collide at 60 kilometers an hour.
Yep.
It really is.
So let's set the scene. It's January 15th, 2026, just afternoon, 12:13 p.m. We're on the outskirts of Kazakutam. And for anyone listening who hasn't been to this part of India, we need to paint the picture. This is not some gray, concrete wasteland.
Far from it. The source material really emphasizes the visual density.
Mm.
It's lush. You have these towering coconut palms, thick tropical foliage. It's incredibly beautiful.
But that beauty can be a hazard
That's the thing. From a safety perspective, it is a hazard.
because of the shadows, camouflage.
Exactly. High contrast. You have this bright equatorial sun creating these deep, pitch black shadows for the trees, and it just breaks up the visual outline of vehicles.
Mm.
The author mentions a Levita Homes billboard as a landmark, but the crucial detail is a cautionary chevron sign on the left.
Which is usually the universe's way of saying pay attention, right? Which everyone promptly ignores.
Precisely. It sets the stage for a curve, a hazard, but in this case, the hazard is entirely man-made. And this sets up our first major incident. The author calls it the triangle trap.
I love this terminology. It sounds like something out of a spy novel, but it's just terrifying geometry. So walk us through the setup.
Okay, so picture a right-angled triangle. On the left side of the road, in the author's lane, there's a stationary object. An orange truck parked dead on the asphalt.
Not on the shoulder, on the actual road.
Right on the road. That's point A.
Okay, so the lane is already blocked. That's a standard kind of annoyance.
It is. But coming from the opposite direction is point B, a massive tour bus. A Galaxy model, white and red. License plate KL67A166.
And the author is the hypotenuse, I'm guessing.
The author is the object about to get crushed in the apex. Because the bus decides that the exact moment it's passing the parked truck is the perfect time to overtake another vehicle.
Oh,
A
no.
KSRTC bus.
Okay, just for our global audience, KSRTC is the state-run public transport, right? So big, heavy, and usually driven with a fair amount of, let's call it assertiveness.
Assertiveness
Yes.
is a very polite way to put it. Yes, they are the kings of the road. So this tour bus pulls into the author's lane to overtake the KSRTC, doing about 65 kilometers per hour,
Head on.
directly head-on. And this is where the triangle becomes a checkmate scenario.
Uh-huh.
The author has the parked truck on the left, so they can't swerve,
Mm-hmm.
and they have the oncoming bus on the right, which is now occupying their entire lane.
It's a pincer movement, but we have to talk about the bus itself. The log mentions a detail that is just, it's almost literary in its irony.
The decal.
Yes.
Across the front of this death machine, it says Toro Boy.
Spelled T-O-R-O-R.
T-O-R-O-R.
Yes.
You can't make this stuff up. It's like a bad villain name in a B movie. But in that moment, that's terrifying.
Well, the author notes that in a split second, Horror Boy became Horror Boy, but Jokes aside, I mean, look at the physics of it. 65-kilometer closing speed. The author has maybe 1.5 seconds to react.
And standard defensive driving tells you to brake and steer right. But if you steer right, you go into the bus, steer left, you're in the truck. And this is where that survival instinct just overrides the handbook. The author realized the asphalt was death. The only survival space was off the road.
The dirt shoulder.
The unpaved, dusty, uneven shoulder. They forced the car completely off the tarmac. The log notes that if they had hesitated for even a split second or tried to hold their lane, they would have clipped that bus.
That's the difference between a story you tell later and a police report. It's lateral thinking, literally. You have to expand the playing field because the designated one is occupied by a bus named Tour Boy.
It just sets the tone for the entire day. The road infrastructure, the lines, the lanes, they're all just suggestions. The real boundary is physics. If two objects try to occupy the same space, the bigger one wins.
And that adrenaline spike happens at noon. We're just getting started, so let's jump ahead to 01:35 p.m. We've moved.
We have. We're in a semi-urban commercial strip now. The infrastructure here is actually better. The source points out there are double solid lines and yellow rumble strips.
Okay, so let's just pause on that. Double solid lines mean do not pass under any circumstances. And rumble strips are designed to make you slow down.
In theory, yes.
Yeah.
In this log, they seem to function more like decoration. Or maybe, suggestions for the timid.
So set the scene for this next one, the precision maneuver.
It's another constriction point, but this time the bailout zone from before is gone. On the left shoulder, there's a parked car, a magma gray Maruti Suzuki Swift.
Magma gray, that's another great camouflage color on a shadowy road.
It is. But what's worse, there's a person, a human being, standing right next to it.
So you can't go left. If you swerve onto the shoulder like before, you hit a pedestrian.
Correct. That's a moral boundary you just can't cross. So now, coming up the hill, and it's a blind climb, mind you, is an orange Eicher truck. License plate KL53X277.
A blind climb, so you can't see over the crest of the hill. Overtaking there is essentially playing Russian roulette.
It's worse than Russian roulette. I mean, the odds are much worse. Because in Russian roulette, there's a chance the chamber is empty. On a busy Indian highway, the chamber is never empty.
Right.
And the truck driver decides to overtake anyway, crossing the double solid lines, barreling uphill at 70 kilometers.
Directly into the author's path.
Directly. So now visualize the geometry again. The author is completely boxed in. Pedestrian on the left, oncoming truck on the right.
This sounds like the classic trolley problem from philosophy, but it's happening in real time. Do you hit the truck or do you swerve and hit the person?
The author chose option C, the precision stop.
The log uses a phrase here that honestly made my skin crawl. Airbrushed.
Yes. The rear left tire of the truck airbrushed my right ORVM. And for our listeners, ORVM is the outside rear view mirror, your side mirror.
Airbrushed. That implies contact, or at the very least, the displacement of air from contact. We are talking about millimeters.
Oh, absolutely. If the author's car had been 3 inches to the right, that mirror is gone. 6 inches, the whole fender is crushed. A foot. That's a head-on collision.
And if they'd flinched 3 inches to the left,
they hit the pedestrian.
That's an incredible demand on your nervous system. The source talks about a fuse-like activation of reflexes, but isn't there a point where skill just isn't enough?
The author actually admits that. They bring up this concept of angels of assistance.
It's a poetic way of acknowledging randomness, right? You can execute the perfect stop, but if that truck driver sneezes and drifts an inch wider, it's over.
Exactly. In high-reliability organizations like, say, aviation or nuclear plants, we talk about safety margins. You build in buffers, backup systems. The terrifying thing in this log is that the environment stripped away all the buffers. The safety margin was 0.
The driver had to create safety out of thin air. It's exhausting just reading it. And you'd think after surviving that, you would just pull over, maybe have a tea, and call it a day.
But the journey continues. We fast forward to late afternoon, 04:08 p.m. The light is changing, shadows are getting longer, and we enter what the log calls an urban extension.
And the geography changes again. The log describes an off-view-shaped slope.
Which is a great description. Imagine the letter F, written in cursive. It's this sort of sinuous rising curve.
Which means, again, your visibility is compromised. You can't see what's coming around the bend.
And that's when we meet the rolling monument.
A custom black traveler van, license KL01BJ357. Why a rolling monument?
It implies bulk, ego, presence.
Yeah.
Probably decked out with chrome, bull bars, just taking up more space than it needs to. And it behaves exactly like the Eicher truck. It decides to overtake a small Alto car
At crossroads.
at a crossroads, crossing solid white lines.
You know, there's a pattern here. Every single one of these incidents involves someone deciding that their need to save 5 seconds outweighs the risk of a head-on collision.
Yeah. It's a complete failure in risk assessment. In psychology, we call it optimism bias. It won't happen to me. The van driver assumes the oncoming lane will be empty because they want it to be empty.
The log has this very witty, very dark take on that driver's mindset.
Oh, it's great. It seems the driver had a VIP pass to the front of the line in Heaven's waiting room and was in a hurry to use it.
It's funny, but it's also profound. Why are we in such a rush to check into that particular hotel?
And look at the proximity again. The source says the tires came within an inch of the front bumper.
We're just seeing a degradation of standards. First, it was a near miss with a shoulder bailout, then an airbrushing of a mirror, now an inch from the bumper. The margin for error is just gone.
And notice how the threat profile is changing. We started with heavy trucks and buses on highways. Now as we get closer to the city, the vehicles get smaller, but the behavior gets even more erratic.
Which brings us to the final circle of this particular inferno, the city center, Zoo 5.18 p.m.
We're near the Normal Gym Bakery area. It's a dense commercial street, hand-painted signs, pedestrians, shops spilling onto the road.
So the speed drops, but the complexity skyrockets.
Exactly. This is no longer about high-speed vectors. It's about tessellation. How do you fit too many shapes into a very limited area?
And the agent of chaos here is the quintessential Indian vehicle, the auto rickshaw.
License KL22S983.
Now, auto rickshaws are amazing for getting through tight spaces, but they can also turn on a dime. So what happens here?
A lady on the side of the road hails the rickshaw. That's the catalyst.
The universal hand wave.
And the driver just reacts instantly. No check, no signal, no gradual merge. The log describes it as a half-straight angle cut.
A half-straight angle. So a sharp, sudden diagonal slash right across the flow of traffic.
Without warning or uniform, as the author notes. And here, the author actually quantified the gap. They didn't just guess. They calculated the space.
Okay, lay the numbers on me.
The theoretical gap was 0.50 feet. That's 6 inches.
That is tight.
But the reality, because of the angles of the bumpers, was 1 inch from bumper to bumper.
1 inch. You know, earlier we talked about the highway where you at least had a dirt shoulder. In this kind of city density, you don't even have that. You are locked in a cage of other vehicles.
It completely changes the nature of the precision maneuver.
Yeah.
On the highway, it was about steering and braking. Here, it's about absolute spatial awareness. Just knowing exactly where the corners of your car are. If the author didn't know the exact length of their hood, they would have hit that rickshaw.
It's like that old board game operation where you can't touch the sides, except the sides are moving and they have people in them.
And just to cap off the day, 10 minutes later, at 05:29 p.m., there's a little coda.
The scooter incident.
A scooter, KL16X524, on a service road. So it's even narrower, probably flanked by concrete barriers for construction.
And the scooter pulls a lane split.
A risky U-turn followed by an aggressive cut to get ahead of the queue. And once again,
Let me guess. Airbrushing.
airbrushing the tire. It's relentless. It's like the road is actively trying to sand the paint off the car, layer by layer.
So if we look at this whole log from tour boy at noon to the scooter at 5:30, what's the big takeaway? Is this just traffic is bad, or is there something deeper here?
I think the author really hits on something profound with that phrase, geometry of survival.
How so?
Driving is usually taught as a set of rules,
Yeah.
right? Stop at red, go at green, stay in your lane. But this log shows that on these roads, the rules just break down. Driving becomes a real-time physics problem. You're constantly calculating mass, velocity, and trajectory.
It's dynamic geometry. The shapes are constantly morphing and trying to intersect with you.
And the human brain's ability to solve these problems, that precision maneuver with the Eicher truck, for example, is just incredible. That driver processed the truck speed, the lane violation, the parked car, the pedestrian, the surface friction, all in a fraction of a second.
It really is a testament to human capability.
Yeah.
But the author doesn't take full credit for it, do they?
No, and that might be the most important part. They end on this note of humility. They write, whether it was the horror boy bus or the heaven-bound traveler, the roads of Trivandrum remind us that safety is often a matter of inches and angelic assistance.
That angelic assistance, it's a humble way of admitting you just can't control everything.
You could be the best driver in the world. You can have the reflexes of a fighter pilot. But if the physics become impossible, if that triangle closes too fast, You are simply at the mercy of chance.
Which brings us back to that line about the waiting room.
The waiting room in heaven may be lovely, but I'm in no rush to check in.
It's a plea for patience, isn't it? The rickshaw driver risked a collision for a single fare. The traveler van risked a head-on crash just to pass an alto.
In economics, we talk about cost-benefit analysis. On the road, the math is completely broken. The benefit is saving 10 seconds. The cost is everything.
An infinite cost for zero marginal gain.
And yet, we see it every day. This log just forces us to stop normalizing it. It forces us to look at that 1-inch gap and realize how terrifyingly small it actually is.
It's a sobering document. It captures a specific day, January 15th, 2026, but it describes a universal experience for anyone driving in these high-density environments.
It's a reminder that every time you get behind the wheel, you are entering a high-stakes environment. You are trusting your life to the competence and the patience of total strangers.
And when those strangers are driving a bus named Toro Boy, that trust is really tested to its limit.
Indeed, it forces you to be a defensive pessimist. You have to assume the worst is going to happen just so you can be ready when it does.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. From the lush traps of Kazakutum to the concrete squeeze of the city, we've dissected the triangles, the blind climbs, and the 1-inch margins.
It's been a geometry lesson I won't be forgetting anytime soon.
I think I'm going to be looking at my side mirrors very differently on the drive home today.
Just make sure they don't get airbrushed.
I'll do my best.
Drive safe.
We want to leave you with a thought to mull over as you head out onto your own roads today. The author credited angelic assistance for their survival.
Right.
So here's the question. In your daily commute, in those split-second moments where you tap the brakes or swerve just a little, how much of that is your skill holding the wheel? And how much is just luck holding the line?
And if that luck runs out, is the 5 minutes you saved really worth the ticket to that waiting room?
Something to think about the next time you see a gap that looks just big enough. Drive safe, everyone. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
Stay safe.